Last class we have seen about system call with an example, that is for copying content of a file to another file. What are the system calls required? With that example we have seen about system call. Then we have seen how system call is implemented. That is, we saw about system call interface and a number will be associated with the system call, and also we saw the parameters are passing through system call. We are having three methods for passing parameters to system call, that is by means of registers or blocks, or by means of stack. Then we saw types of system call, then we saw about system programs, and then in the types of system programs we saw about file management and status information system programs. Today we will continue the rest of the types of system programs. Now we will see file modification system program. So file modification, already we have seen file management system program, that is used for managing a file, that is creating a file or deleting a file or searching where the file is, like that we saw in file management system program. In file modification system program, that is the system programs required for modifying the content of the file or searching some content in the file or changing the content of the file can be done using file modification system program. And then next type of system program is programming language support. In a programming language support, we are having some tools. There is compilers, assemblers, debuggers and interpreters. So we'll see about these tools one by one. For running this tool, we need some set of system call. Okay. So for what do you mean by compiler? Compiler is a programming tool which converts a program written in source code. Whether you're writing a program in C programming or in C++, it will convert that program into machine language. That is done by compiler. Then assembler. Assembler converts the program written in assembly language into machine language. I hope till now you might have not come across assembling language. In microprocessor, you will see about assembly language. This assembly language will be a textual description like sum of a comma b, add of a comma b. Like that, we'll be having some lines in assembly language. You will see it in detail in microprocessor and microcontroller subject. Okay. Then debuggers. These debuggers are used for locating where the error is and to diagnose the error. We are using debuggers. Okay. And then we are having interpreters. So interpreters, what is the job of interpreters? Means it will convert the program written in source code into an intermediate form. Okay. This either may be some other higher language but not to the native code. Okay. This is the purpose of interpreter. So for running all these tools, we need the programming language support system programs. This come under this category. And next, we will see about program loading and execution. See, if a program is there, means to run a program, first of all, the program should be in memory first. So to load that program, we are going for the concept program loading. This program loading is done by means of some tools given here: absolute loaders, relocatable loaders, linkage editors, overlay loaders. So here we are having some editors and loaders. These are used for loading the user program in memory and for also execution of that program. And also we are having some debugging system. So these all comes under this category of program loading and execution. Okay. Next, you'll see about communication system program. This is for communication between different processes or for communicating between a computer system with another computer system over network. We need some communication system programs. As if you want to send some email messages from one system to another system. It requires some set of system programs, or if you want to transfer file from one system to another system using any tool like share it or any Bluetooth means, if you are sharing means, that also requires set of system programs. Next, there's the last category of system program is background services. System programs are meant for the above seen types of categories also, and also at the background system program will be running. That is at the starting, this is at the boot time. Once we turn on our system starts to boot. From that time, some system programs will be launched and it will be running. Okay, some system programs are launched at the system startup till they terminate. That is until the system shutdown. Some system programs will be running at the background, or some system programs are meant for disk checking purposes. Disk checking means might have some hard disk, or you might have inserted some CD-ROM, like that. Some disk checking features will be done by system programs. Then process scheduling, that we are having several processes to execute in our system. To run that process on the CPU, we have to send the process in a order. That is, each process will be scheduled to the CPU. For that, we are having process scheduling. For process scheduling also, some set of system programs will be running. And then for detecting some error also, we are having system call. Then for printing purpose, and these background services system call run in user context. That is, it will run in user mode, not in kernel mode. Okay. These are also known as services, subsystems, or daemons. These are the other names of the system programs which are running at the background, providing background services which supports the running of all the application programs. Okay, so till now we have seen different types of system programs. It is starting from file management system program, status information, file modification, programming language support, program loading and execution, communication, background services. So these are the types of system programs. Next, we will see application program. So application program means, so here in this slide number 4, some application program example is given. That is, while some operating system is installed in a computer, some application will come along with that operating system. See, if you are using a mobile phone, okay, there will be some default apps. You are installing an operating system in your computer system also, there will be some default application programs. That is default application softwares. It may differ from OS to OS. Okay, that is for example, if you see means here we have taken for an example Windows operating system and Linux operating system. In Windows operating system, we may have Mozilla Firefox. In Linux, it is I hope you might have worked in Fedora in our college and all. So in that you will be having Chrome, Google Chrome application. If you are seeing in Windows means you will be having MS Office package that gives MS Word, MS Excel for spreadsheet and word processing applications. If you are seeing in case of Fedora and all, you'll be having LibreOffice Calc and LibreOffice Writer for spreadsheet and word processing application. And there will be a different data management systems just meant for these different OSs. And there will be also different sets of game and some other applications. This application softwares meant for these different operating systems. Okay. So these application programs are run by users. How the users will run these application programs? That is, if you are having a Google Chrome icon in your desktop screen, if you double click that Google Chrome icon, or if you right click the Google Chrome and click open, it will be running. Thus, user only running this application programs. If you see some MS-DOS application and all, by writing some set of commands, the application meant for that operating system will be running. Okay? Or in smartphone, by simply by means of a finger poke. Like that, user can run these application programs. Okay? Next, we will see operating system design and implementation. See, this operating system designing and implementation is a complex task. It can't be given with a set of rules and principles. So, if we consider the design goals for an operating system, means there are so many problems allocating to define the design goals. So, if we consider that is because an operating system may vary depending upon the user, there is number of user or type of user, or depending upon the hardware we are using. Like that, the operating system may vary as per the application also. So, specifying this design goals is somewhat a tedious process. So, here we have considered in design goals as a choice of hardware and types of system. That is, we can say what type of hardware we are going to use for this type of operating system, or what type of system. This type of system means it can be a multi-processing system or multitasking system. Like that, we can say what type of system we are going to design an operating system. Like this, we can specify the design goals. If we go beyond these, means it will be somewhat more complex and harder to identify the goals. Okay. Next up, we will see the requirements. Requirements means there is a user goals and system goals. So user goals means it is if there is a user means what will be the what are the requirements for the user in his or her point of view. System goals means there is the requirements. What are the requirements? It will be in a system or in a system developers. This OS developers point of view will come under system goals. This we will see in detail. So user goals means if a user wants to use an operating system, then what he will prefer? He prefer that the system should be convenient to use and easy to learn. If it is easy to learn, only more number of users will be using the operating system, and it should be reliable and it should be safe and fast. If these all satisfy, only a particular user will be using this in an efficient way. Next, we see the system goals. We see the system goals means the system should be what will be in the designer's perspective. If a operating system designer thinks means in his perspective, what will be the goals? That is easy to design. The operating system should be easy to design like that, and it should be easy to implement and should maintain. Maintain means once an operating system is released, there is several upgradation. See, we are having Windows. Windows came, then Windows 7, Windows XP, Windows 7, 8, 10. Like that, we are having several Windows versions. There is some upgradation is done. That is how we are maintaining. It is based upon some drawbacks of some version or some additional advantages added to that version. Thus, the OS designer or developer will maintain the operating system and should be easy to operate. Like that, the designer will think. And also, it should be flexible. Flexible means should be easy to change. That is, we are saying that is from one version of operating system, it will move on to other like that. So it should be flexible to change the basic operating system also. And it should be reliable and should be efficient and error-free. So these all the system goal on designer's point of view. Okay. Next, we can see the mechanisms and policies for designing an operating system. So what do you mean by mechanism? Means it is a mechanism determine how to do something. This is how we are going to do some task. That is mechanism. And policy means determines what will be done, what you are going to do. That is policy. Okay. We can see about mechanism and policy with a simple example. For example, a car is driving on a road. If you are having a policy, driving car on this particular road should not go beyond the speed of 50 kilometer. Okay. So the car shouldn't exceed the speed of 50 kilometer in a particular road. So this is a policy. The car, driving the car shouldn't exceed 50 kilometer speed. So mechanism means that is how the car is driving on the road. That is a mechanism. Okay. So policy means stating some task. Here is driving the car shouldn't exceed the speed of 50 kilometer per hour. Mechanism means the method how the car is driven on the road. Okay. So it is important to have the policy and mechanism separately. For this also we will take the same example. That is, in one case, in one road, the car should go in a speed that it shouldn't exceed 50 kilometer per hour. In another road, we are saying that car shouldn't exceed 40 kilometer per hour. So here, in these two cases, policy differ. The mechanism. So what is the mechanism? There is a car driving on the road. The mechanism was same in both the case. There is driving the car on the road. What is the policy changing? There is in one road, say it may be a road 1, the car should be driven at the speed which shouldn't exceed 50 kilometer per hour. In another road, the car should be driven at the speed which shouldn't exceed 40 kilometer per hour. Here the policy differs. If you are having a common policy and principle, then while the policy is changing, mechanism also needs to change. So it is not good. So normally we'll prefer a flexible operating system. So we are having separate mechanism and policy. Okay. So our operating system will be working efficiently and in a flexible manner. Okay. Next we will see how this operating system will be implemented. Till now we saw the design goals, user goal and all. So now we will see how we can implement an operating system. This the operating system, once designed, it will be implemented. Normally, this operating system was written in assembly level language in ancient days. So traditionally, operating system was written in assembly level language. So assembly level language consists of some textual representation. Okay, you will be seeing it in you will be studying it in microprocessor and microcontroller subject. But nowadays, operating system was written in higher level language like C or C++. Okay. You see, what are the advantages of writing this operating system in high level language? Okay, you all know operating system is nothing but a program. So this program should be written in some language. We are preferring higher level language. So what are the reasons for that? We will see one by one. That is, the code can be written faster when we are writing in higher level language. So compared to lower level language like assembly level language, it will be somewhat writing code in a higher level language will be somewhat faster, and it will also be compact. So if you're writing adding sum of two numbers in a C or C++ program will look compact than writing in assembly level language. So the program will be compact, will be small in size compared to writing in assembly level language. Then it will be easier to understand and debug. So understanding a program written in higher level language will be easier to understand, as well as it will be easy to debug. Debug means it is easy to find the errors. And the last one is it is easier to port. Port means transferring the coding, transferring the operating system from one hardware to another hardware. If you see assembly level language means this assembly level language will be specific to a particular hardware. If you're writing the assembly level language for a hardware, then that program will be meant for that hardware only. If you are going to use the same assembly level language program in some other hardware, means some modification need to be done. But if you see in case of C or C++, it doesn't depend upon the hardware. So porting, that is transferring the OS from one hardware to another hardware, is easy in case of writing a program in high level language like C or C++. Okay, there is below here an example is given. That is MS-DOS. This is a Microsoft Disk Operating System, was written in assembly level language for the hardware Intel 8088. Okay, so since it is written in assembly level language, it was available only to run on Intel family of CPUs. Only on Intel processor core only this MS-DOS will be operating. But we see Linux means Linux was written in C or C++. Linux was written in C language. So it is available in different types of CPUs like Intel 80x86 Intel processor, or Motorola, or a Spark, or MIPS processor. So these Intel, Motorola, Spark, MIPS are different types of processor CPUs available. So this Linux was written in C language. So only this Linux can be used in different processors. Okay, these are the advantages of writing OS program in high level language. So till now we have seen about unit 1. That is unit 1 is operating system structures. Operating system and structures. We have studied about the operating system and structures till now. So in the first unit, what all we have seen? We'll have a quick recap. This first we saw about this introduction. What do you mean by operating system? And then we saw the computer system organization. This is a computer system operation, input-output structure, storage structure, then the computer system architecture. In computer system architecture, we saw different types of computer system, the single process system, multi-process system, cluster system. Then we saw the protection and security mechanism for a computing system. Then we saw kernel data structure, that is a array, stack, queue, bitmap, hash map, tree, linked list, all those we saw. Next, we saw about the computing environments. There's different computing environments, from traditional computing environment, mobile computing environment, then distributed computing environment, cloud computing, peer-to-peer computing, virtualization, then real-time embedded system computing, all those we saw. The next we saw about open source operating system, how open source operating system is used. Then we saw some services of operating system. And the next we saw what do you mean by system calls, how it is implemented, the types of system call, then the system programs, and what are the types of system programs, and how operating system is designed and it is implemented. So all these we saw in the first unit. So with this we are finishing our first unit. Next we'll see a second unit, that is process management. Okay, so in this second unit, what all we are going to see means is we will study in detail about process, inter-process computing, threads, multi-threading, CPU scheduling, deadlock mechanism, critical section problem, dining philosophers, and process synchronization. All these will be dealt in detail in this second unit. Okay, we'll see one by one. First, we'll see what do you mean by process. See, if you're having an operating system, in our operating system, we are executing programs. Yes. So, what do you mean by process means? So, before executing a program, this program should be in memory. That is, a program in execution is known as process. Okay. So, what do you mean by process? A program in execution. So நம்ம என்ன பண்றோம், ஒரு ப்ரோக்ராம மெமரியில லோட் பண்றோம், லோட் பண்ணிட்டு அதை எக்ஸிக்யூட் பண்றோமா, அததான் என்ன சொல்றாங்க, ப்ராசஸ்னு சொல்றாங்க. So what do you mean by process? A program in execution is known as process. Okay, so you all might have studied a program will be in a sequential manner. It sometimes goes in an alternative way. We have some branch or decision making instructions. This process will be in a sequential manner. Okay, will be executing in a sequential manner. So we'll see the different parts of the program. Program has program or this process. What is the difference between process and program? Program is nothing but a set of instructions. It is written in any programming language. Process means a program in execution is known as process. Okay. So this process has some program code section. There is a coding. We are having a int, printf, and that's some statements we are having in our C programming. This int is a variable for defining integer type. Then printf, scanf, then if loop, while loop. Like that we are having some statements. So these statements are known as text sections. Okay, text section. And then we are having program counter. So what does this program counter means? It is a register. Program counter is nothing but a register. It indicates this program counter indicates the address of next instruction. This program counter is a register which indicates the address of next instruction. Where this will be used means, for example, if you are using an interrupt in your program, there will be a normal program execution. If an interrupt comes means, what will happen? The normal program execution will be stopped and that interrupt will be processed. After processing that interrupt, this program will be continuing from where it is stopped. So the place where the program is stopped is denoted by means of program counter. This program counter keep track of the address of program execution. So what are the address? The program we are executing, all those will be kept track by this program counter. Okay, so program counter is nothing but a register. And also we'll be having some other registers like processor registers. That is the registers available within our CPU. Okay, and then we are having stack. Stack is a memory. It's a collection of memory which has, so the stack normally has some temporary data. So in a program means the stack has some temporary data like function parameters. For example, you are using a function add of a comma b. So the parameters are the variables which are going along with that function. This a comma b. Then the return address. So this add of a comma b will have a return address, say int. There's written variable type as int. Return address means, so when we are seeing this sum of a comma b, a function will be called, and in that function, for example, say addition of two integers will be done. After that, it will be returning where this function is called. So the return address where this program should go after completing this function, that is the return address. So ஒரு function நம்ம என்ன பண்றோம், ஒரு add of a comma b ன்னு ஒரு function இருந்ததுன்னா, so அது கால் பண்ணும்போது அந்த function execute பண்ணிட்டு ரிட்டர்ன் ஆகுதா. ஸோ ரிட்டர்ன் வந்து எந்த பிளேஸ் ரிட்டர்ன் ஆகணும், That is the return address. So this return address will be stored in stack, and then local variable. Local variable means, for example, within a function, we'll be having some local variables. All these things will be stored in stack. And next, we are having also some global variables. That is, above the main program, we'll be defining some global variables which can be used by all the function. Above the main function, you'll be having your global variables. So these global variables can be used by all the functions in your program. So these global variables are stored in a section called data section, and we are having heap. That is, if you are having a program and you are running a program means, ஒரு program நம்மட்ட இருக்கு, அந்த program run பண்ணும்போது, so அது run பண்ணும்போது அந்த programல some memory consume பண்ணும். Some memory will be allocated or some memory will be deallocated, like that. The program run ஆகும்போது we need some memory during runtime. So for that we are having heap section. Okay. So these are the different sections. Section means is nothing but ஒரு program memoryல இருக்கும்போது என்னென்ன செக்ஷன்லாம் இருக்கும் நம்ம பார்த்தோம்னா, it will have a text section. Text section என்ன இருக்கும்? Program code இருக்கும். Then program counter and processor registers. So these are registers. Then we are having stack. Then data section. Then heap. Okay. All these are included by a process when it is in memory. Okay. See here in the slide you can see the different section of a process when it is in memory. See the section here below we are having test section. Then after that we are having data section. Then heap. Heap means so a sand heap. You might have seen sand heap. So that heap means will be growing upwards. So only this heap and that upward arrow indicates that adding some data into the heap will make this heap to grow upwards. Then above that we are having stack. The stack will add the data and grow downwards. Okay. The stack memory will add the data and grow downwards. So நம்ம ஒவ்வொரு data add பண்ண stack வந்து கொஞ்சம் கீழ இறங்கிட்டே வரும். So heap பார்த்தோம்னா மேல போயிட்டே இருக்கும். So அதனால in heap we have arrow upwards to indicate that the addition of data into the heap memory will make it to grow upwards. In stack, an addition of data in the stack memory will make it to grow downwards. Okay. So we can say another difference between process and program. That is, this program is generally known as passive entity. Passive means this program will simply be in the memory. So we are saying it as passive entity. This process is active entity. So why we are saying process as active entity means because it is a executable. So this program when executing becomes process. So it is known as active entity. So how we can execute a program? By using our graphical user interface, by clicking the mouse, or by using command line instructions. That in case of MS-DOS and all. Okay. So if you see means a program, if you are having one program means a program can have several processes. So ஒரு ப்ரோக்ராம்னு பார்த்தோம்னா ஒரு ப்ரோக்ராம்க்கு ஒரு ப்ராசஸ் தான் இருக்கும்னு இல்ல, ஒரு ப்ரோக்ராம்ல will be having different processes. Okay. So I have taken an example of processor for your clear understanding. See here in this slide number 13. Simply I have used a task manager. In your system also you can view the task manager by clicking the shortcut Control Shift Escape. Okay. By using this you can view your task manager. See in this case I have opened several applications like a PPT. I have opened 2 PPTs, then a PDF document, then downloads, then Google Chrome browser, then a reference, then a image, then a paint. So all these things, all these applications I have opened in this case. To state to you, I have opened it. So these things are applications. See, and if you are clicking the applications tab shown at the top of the taskbar, you can see what are the applications opened in your system running at that time. If you want to see the process, what all running means, we have to click the process tab next to application. See here, I have clicked the process tab, and also see below there is a below there is a show process from all user. I have checked that checkbox also. So by clicking that, I can see several process. See here in the system, the username is admin. I'm having only one user. That username is admin. See in this, we are having several process. We can also scroll below to see some more process also. See there are several process having the username as admin, and some more system named as. There is the process run by the system will be given as system, and then we are having local service. That is, I'm providing some internet service, so that name is coming here. And also we can see the description. See here I have opened only one Adobe Reader. For that I'm having two process running. Like that I have opened only one Chrome browser. See how many process running for that single Chrome browser. And I'm having some defreeze software at the background. So see what are the process running for? Only for these much application. See here I'm having some only or 8 applications only I'm having. For that I'm having these much several process. So a single program may have several process. Okay. Next you see. So while executing a process, you will see the process is having some state. To say at what state the process is executing. We are saying it is by the name state. So process run ஆகும்போது அது எந்த ஸ்டேட்ல இருக்குன்னு நம்ம சொல்லலாம். So we are having several states. The first one is new. New means when a process is created. ஒரு process புதுசா create பண்ணோம்னா அந்த process எந்த ஸ்டேட்ல இருக்கும்? New stateல இருக்கும். The next one is running. That is while running a process, that process will be in running the state. So the process நம்ம run பண்றோம், execute பண்றோம். அப்ப அந்த process running stateல இருக்கும். Then waiting. Waiting means so ஒரு process நம்ம run பண்றோம். அந்த run பண்ணும்போது அந்த processக்கு some input or output data தேவைப்படுது. அந்த process இன்னும் அந்த input and output dataவை get பண்ண. So அப்போ என்ன பண்ணணும்? அந்த process wait பண்ணணும். ரன் பண்றதுக்கு வெயிட் பண்ணணும். சோ அந்த ஸ்டேட் என்ன சொல்றாங்க? வெயிட்டிங் ஸ்டேட்னு சொல்றாங்க. So if a process waits for some other event to occur. So இங்க any event means ஒரு input output operation நடக்கணும். இல்ல ஒரு process இன்னொன்னு ஒரு process complete பண்ணாதான் இந்த process ரன் ஆக முடியும். அந்த மாதிரி ஸ்டேட்ல இருக்கலாம். For example, இதுக்கு தான் நான் ஆல்ரெடி சொல்லியிருக்கேன். There is you're going to copy a image in a Word document from a Google browser. So Google browserல ஒரு flower image நான் browse பண்ணி அதை right click பண்ணி copy பண்ணிட்டு so Word documentல நான் paste பண்ண போறேன். So அங்க copy ஆனாதான் நம்ம என்ன பண்ணணும்? இங்க paste பண்ண முடியும். So அங்க copy process இன்னும் நடக்கல. அப்பனா என்ன ஆகும்? நம்ம paste பண்ணது waiting stateல இருக்கும். Okay? So this is waiting. Then ready. So ஒரு process எப்போ ரெடின்னு சொல்லுவோமா? So the process is ready for execution. So அதுட்ட எல்லா resources, எல்லா input output data இருக்கு, எல்லா resources, memory இருக்கு. It is ready to execute. So அந்த processல எந்த stateல இருக்கும்? Ready stateல இருக்கும். Okay, next the another state is terminated. So the process complete ஆயிட்டு. Process execution complete ஆச்சுன்னா that process will be in terminated state. Okay. So these are the new, running, waiting, ready, terminated or different process states. Next we'll see the process state diagram. So process எப்படி create ஆகுது, அது எப்படி run ஆகுது, run ஆகும்போது என்னென்ன மாதிரி disturbance வர chances இருக்கு. So அதெல்லாத்தையும் overcome பண்ணி எப்படி அந்த process execute பண்ணிட்டு proper terminate ஆகுது can be depicted by means of process state diagram. Okay, see here a process state diagram is given. So initially ஒரு process create ஆகும்போது it will be in new state. See we are having new state, that is initially when the process has created. So process create ஆனவுடனே it will acquire all the resources. either input output data. So எல்லா resources get பண்ணதுக்கு அப்புறம் the process will move from new state to ready state. So எல்லா date get பண்ணதுக்கு அப்புறம் it is ready for execution. So CPU ல execute பண்றதுக்கு ரெடியா இருக்குன்னா that process will move from new state to ready state. Okay. And then இப்போ process ready stateல ரெடியா இருக்கு, then it should be scheduled to the CPU. So CPU ல நம்ம ரன் ஆகணும் பார்க்கணும். So job scheduling, CPU scheduling, so அந்த மாதிரி நம்ம ஆல்ரெடி பார்த்திருக்கோம். So ஒரு process CPU ல நம்ம schedule பண்ணாதான் ரன் பண்ண முடியும். Okay. So that scheduling operation is done by scheduler dispatch. We are having several scheduling mechanism. We will see in this unit itself what are the different scheduling mechanism. Okay. By using any one of that scheduling mechanism, this process will be scheduled to the CPU for executing. Okay. So அப்போ ready stateல இருந்து எங்க போகும், running stateக்கு போகும். running state means அங்க process execute ஆயிட்டுக்குன்னு அர்த்தம். So the process execution முடிஞ்சிட்டுனா எங்க போகும், will exit. The process execution complete ஆயிட்டுனா will exit and go to terminated state. So the process execution complete ஆயிட்டுனா it will be in terminated state. Okay. Suppose the process while executing, so running stateல இருக்கு, அதாவது execute ஆயிட்டு இருக்கு, அந்த டைம்ல ஏதாவது ஒரு interrupt occur ஆச்சு. So நம்ம என்ன பார்த்திருக்கோம், if an interrupt occurs, the current user program executing will be stopped and that interrupt will be processed. அப்படிதானே பார்த்துட்டு இருக்கோம். So இப்போ கரண்டா ஏதாவது ஒரு interrupt வந்துச்சுன்னா அந்த program execution என்ன ஆகும், ஸ்டாப் ஆகும், நம்ம பார்த்திருக்கோம். So ஒரு interrupt occur ஆச்சுன்னா the process will go from running state to ready state. இப்போ CPU ல ரன் ஆகுதுல இங்க என்ன ரன் ஆகும், ஒரு interrupt ரன் ஆகும். So இப்போ running state உள்ள process எங்க போகும், ready stateல போயிட்டு CPU ல interrupt ரன் ஆகும். Okay. So the interrupt complete ஆனதுக்கு அப்புறம் என்ன ஆகும், this process will again resume. அப்ப என்ன ஆகும், interrupt terminate, interrupt execution எல்லாம் முடிஞ்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் the process will go from ready state to running state. Okay. And so ஒரு process வந்து CPU ல execute ஆகும்போதும் என்ன பார்க்கலாம்னா ஏதாவது ஒரு இன்புட் அவுட்புட் ஆபரேஷன் அதுக்கு ஏதாவது ஒரு நடக்கணும், பட் அதோட ரிசோர்ஸ் எதுவுமே அவைலபிளா இல்ல. அப்ப என்ன ஆகும்னா இந்த ப்ராசஸ் ரன் ஆகும் போது தான் அதுக்கு நமக்கு தெரிஞ்சது, எக்ஸிக்யூட் ஆகும் போது தான் it finds out that it needs some input output data or it needs some other process to complete. At that time the process in running state will go to waiting state. எங்க போகும், ரன்னிங்ல இருந்து வெயிட்டிங், ஏன்னா அதுக்கு எல்லா ரிசோர்சஸுமே அவைலபிளா இல்ல. So that is input output எதுவும் அவைலபிளா இல்ல. So அந்த மாதிரி கேஸ்ல வெயிட்டிங் ஸ்டேட்ல இருந்து அதோட இன்புட் அவுட்புட் டேட்டா ஒரு வேற ஏதாவது ப்ராசஸ் ரன் ஆகிறதுக்கு வெயிட் பண்ணிட்டு, அதாவது இன்புட் அவுட்புட் டேட்டா முடிஞ்சதுக்கு கலெக்ட் பண்ணதுக்கு அப்புறம் or after completing some event, this process from waiting state will go to ready state. அதுக்கப்புறம் தான் என்ன ஆகும், இந்த ப்ராசஸ் வெயிட்டிங் ஸ்டேட்ல இருந்து ரெடி ஸ்டேட்டுக்கு போகும். ஓகே. So இந்த ப்ராசஸ் என்ன ஆகும்னா வெயிட்டிங் ஸ்டேட்ல இருந்து டைரக்டா ரன் ஆகாது, வெயிட்டிங் ஸ்டேட்ல இருந்து ரெடி ஸ்டேட்டுக்கு போனதுக்கு அப்புறம் ஷெட்யூல் பண்ணதுக்கு அப்புறம் தான் again it can go to running state. Okay. So வெயிட்டிங்ல அந்த வெயிட் பண்ணது கம்ப்ளீட் ஆன உடனே, அது இன்புட் அவுட்புட் ஆபரேஷன் ஏதாவது கம்ப்ளீட் ஆன உடனே ஒரு எனி சம் ஈவெண்ட் கம்ப்ளீட் ஆன உடனே தான் எங்க போகும், ரெடி ஸ்டேட்டுக்கு போகும். So from that ready state, scheduler dispatch should schedule that process to the CPU for execution. So அங்க execute ஆனதுக்கு அப்புறம் so இப்போ எந்த ப்ராப்ளம் இல்லாம கம்ப்ளீட்டா அந்த process execution complete ஆனதுக்கு அப்புறம் it will go to terminated state at last. Okay. This is how a process will be created, will be collecting all the necessary resources and it will be running and it will be completing its process execution. So இப்படிதான் ஒரு process ஓட state diagram இருக்கும். Okay, this is what a process state diagram. Next we will see process control block. So, see, every process has its own process control block. There is the associated information about the process will be available in process control block. The process oda information எல்லாமே இந்த process control blockல இருக்கும். It is also known as task control block. See, in this figure, we are having a process control block an example. So in the process control blockல என்னென்ன மாதிரி details இருக்கும் about that process we will see one by one. This it will have process state. So process என்ன stateல இப்போ run ஆயிட்டு இருக்கு. நம்ம பார்த்தோமா new state இப்பதான் create ஆச்சுன new state or ready state or running or waiting or terminated. இந்த மாதிரி என்ன stateல இருக்கு நம்ம process state வந்து process control blockல இருக்கும். Then process number or process ID. So each and every process will have a process number. Say process 0, process 1 or process 2. இந்த மாதிரி ஏதாவது ஒரு நம்பர் வச்சு தான் ஒவ்வொரு ப்ராசஸும் இருக்கும். To uniquely identify that process. Okay. Next to program counter. So program counter means it is the location of the instruction which is going to execute next. Program counter வந்து ஒரு register. It holds the address of next instruction. So இப்போ process ஏதாவது run ஆயிட்டு இருக்கும். So next அது எந்த instruction run ஆகணும். உங்க C programmingல எந்த statement run ஆகணும். அதோட address எதுல இருக்கும்? Program counterல இருக்கும். Program counter is a register. So this will be available, and then there will be some CPU registers. So within the CPU we'll be having some registers. So all these registers will be available in this is a process control block, and then next we'll be having some memory limit. So each and every process will be in memory. So program வந்து create ஆனோனே memoryல நம்ம load பண்றோம். So அந்த load பண்ணும்போது அந்த program கூட memory limit. So starting from 100 MB to 200 MB. அதான் அதோட memory limit. நம்ம அந்த மாதிரி specify பண்ணலாம் for each and every process. There is a memory limit. The starting address of the process and ending address. For example, from address 1000 to 2000. அந்த மாதிரி memory limit நம்ம specify பண்றது. Next, accounting information. So accounting information means CPU எவ்வளோ யூஸ் பண்ணிருக்கு இந்த ப்ராசஸ், இன்னும் எவ்வளோ யூஸ் பண்ணணும், CPUல எவ்வளோ டைம், there is a clock time, clock execution time எவ்வளோ இருக்கு நம்ம பாக்குறது. ஸோ ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ண இந்த ப்ராசஸ் கிரியேட் ஆனதுல இருந்து எவ்வளோ டைம் எக்ஸிக்யூட் ஆகிருக்கு. ஸோ இந்த மாதிரி டைமிங் டீடைல்ஸ் எல்லாமே ப்ராசஸ் கண்ட்ரோல் பிளாக்ல அவைலபிளா இருக்கும். அண்ட் ஆல்சோ இன்புட் அவுட்புட் ஸ்டேட்டஸ் இன்ஃபர்மேஷன். ஸோ தட் இஸ் என்னென்ன இன்புட் அவுட்புட் டேட்டா எல்லாம் கெட் பண்ணிருக்காங்க, யூசிங் வாட் டைப் ஆஃப் டிவைசஸ், and what are the list of files open. So அந்த மாதிரி all the details about that process will be available in process control block or task control block. Okay, this process control block is nothing but a memory. So இது ஒரு memory தான். So இதுல என்னென்ன மாதிரி details இருக்குன்னு தான் நம்ம பார்த்தோம். Next, we will see about CPU switch from a process to process. That is, நம்ம இப்ப என்ன பார்த்தோம், different process run ஆகுது நம்ம பார்த்தோம். So CPU-ல ஒரு process, for example say process 0 run ஆகுது. So அதுல இருந்து process P1 எப்படி switch ஆகுது. So ஒரு simple example வச்சு using this diagram shown in the slide number 18 we will see. Okay, there is a see initially here process P0. So இங்க என்ன ஆகுது, so இங்க மேல the blue line you can see process B0 you are having, then operating system, then process P1 you are having all these things. So the process on the name na P0, இன்னொரு process P1, in between la நமக்கு என்ன இருக்கு, operating system. Okay, so in the example la process P0 வந்து என்ன ஆகுது, execute ஆயிட்டு இருக்கு. Okay, starting process P0 is executing. The process execute ஆயிருக்கு. See அங்க 1 அந்த நம்பர் பண்ணிருக்க இடத்தை பாத்தீங்க, அந்த பிளேஸ் பாத்தீங்கன்னா, so there we are having a interrupt or system call. So interrupt or some system call occurs mean what happens, the process execution will be stopped and our CPU or our operating system will process the interrupt or system call. So நம்ம கரண்டா எக்ஸிக்யூட் ஆயிருக்கிற ப்ராசஸ் ஸ்டாப் ஆயிட்டு நம்ம நமக்கு இப்போ நியூ அரைவ் ஆன இன்டரப்ட் ஆர் சிஸ்டம் கால் வந்து நம்ம ப்ராசஸ் பண்ணுவோம். Okay, see that is indicated by the number 3. So process P0 run ஆகும்போது ஒரு இன்டரப்ட் அக்கர் ஆகுது. So அதோட கரண்ட் ப்ராசஸ் எக்ஸிகியூஷன் ஸ்டாப் ஆயிட்டு எங்க போகுது, இன்டரப்ட் ஆர் சிஸ்டம் கால் எக்ஸிக்யூட் பண்ண போகுது. So அந்த டைம் பாத்தீங்கன்னா ப்ராசஸ் P1 நம்ம எக்ஸிக்யூட் பண்ண ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணவே இல்லை. That is indicated by number 2. Okay, so இந்த ப்ராசஸ் P0 ரன் ஆகும்போது ஏதாவது ஒரு இன்டரப்ட் அரைவ் ஆச்சு. So an interrupt is arrived, interrupt or system call is arrived. So at that time what will happen means the state of that process will be stay within process control block. So each and every process has its own process control block. PCB is nothing but process control block. So ஒவ்வொரு ப்ராசஸ்க்கு என்ன இருக்கும்னா அதோட corresponding process control block available இருக்கும். So here for the process P0 we are having PCB0 process control block. Okay, so இப்போ அந்த ப்ராசஸ் என்ன ஸ்டேட்ல இருக்கு, ரன் ஆச்சா இல்ல ரெடி ஸ்டேட்ல இருந்ததா இல்ல வெயிட்டிங் ஸ்டேட்ல இருக்கா. சோ அதோட கரண்ட் ஸ்டேட் எங்க சேவ் பண்றாங்க, ப்ராசஸ் கண்ட்ரோல் பிளாக்ல சேவ் பண்ணதுக்கு அப்புறம் தான் என்ன பண்றாங்க, இன்டரப்ட் ஆர் சிஸ்டம் கால எக்ஸிக்யூட் பண்ண ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணுவாங்க. So that is indicated by the number 3 in this figure. Okay, so the current state சேவ் பண்ணிடுவாங்க. சேவ் பண்ணதுக்கு அப்புறம் so the dotted line இருக்கா, dots, so that dots represent interrupt or system call processing. so இப்போ interrupt இல்ல system call வந்து ரன் ஆயிட்டு இருக்கு. so அது முடிஞ்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் என்ன பண்றாங்கன்னா they are reloading state from PCB1. so இப்போ நம்ம ப்ரோக்ராம் என்ன பண்றாங்க, PCB1ல இருந்து ஸ்டேட்டை ரீலோட் பண்றாங்க. so அப்போ PCB1 belongs to which process, process P1. Okay, the process control block of process P1 is PCB1. so அங்க இருந்து ஸ்டேட்டை வந்து ரீலோட் பண்ணும்போது இப்போ எந்த ப்ராசஸ் ரன் ஆகும், process P1. Okay, so that is indicated by the number 4 the diagram. so அங்க பாருங்க ரீலோட் பண்ண உடனே so அது வரைக்கும் P1 ப்ராசஸ் ஐடிலா இருந்தது. so the state வந்து ரீலோட் பண்ண உடனே எந்த ப்ராசஸ் எக்ஸிக்யூட் ஆகுது, ப்ராசஸ் P1. that is indicated by the number 5. so process P1 will be executing. so அந்த ப்ராசஸ் P1 எக்ஸிக்யூட் ஆகும்போது again a system call or an interrupt occurs means the process execution will be stopped. so occur ஆகும்போது அந்த ப்ராசஸ் எக்ஸிகியூஷன் ஸ்டாப் ஆகும். so ஸ்டாப் ஆயிட்டு என்ன பண்ணும், அதோட கரண்ட் ஸ்டேட் அது என்ன ஸ்டேட்ல இருக்கும், அது எங்க சேவ் ஆகும், அதோட கரஸ்பாண்டிங் ப்ராசஸ் கண்ட்ரோல் பிளாக்ல சேவ் ஆகும். so அந்த ப்ராசஸ் எக்ஸிகியூஷன் ஸ்டாப் ஆயிட்டு டியூ டு இன்டரப்ட் சிஸ்டம் கால்ல ஸ்டாப் ஆயிட்டு தட் கரண்ட் ஸ்டேட் எதர் நியூ ஸ்டேட்ல இருக்கா, இப்பதான் ஆல்ரெடி ரன் ஆயிட்டு இருக்கு. so இட் மே பி இன் ரன்னிங் ஸ்டேட். so அந்த ரன்னிங் ஸ்டேட்ல உள்ளது எங்க சேவ் ஆகும், process control block of process P1 ல சேவ் ஆயிட்டு interrupt or that system call will be processing. so the interrupt வந்ததுனா interrupt service routine run ஆகும், or system call means the corresponding functionalities there is a operating system services will be provided. so இதெல்லாம் run ஆயிட்டு இருக்கும். that is given by the dots, 3 dots. so after that we are having a reload state from PCB0. see இப்போ என்ன பண்றோம், நம்ம PCB0 ல இருந்து நம்ம ஸ்டேட்டை ரீலோட் பண்றோம். PCB0 belongs to process P0. so அப்போ process P0 தான் இப்போ என்ன ஆகும், ரன் ஆக ஸ்டார்ட் ஆகும், எக்ஸிக்யூட் ஆகும். see that is given here by the number 7 and 8. so 7ல இருந்து ரீலோட் ஆகுது, ரீலோட் ஆன உடனே என்ன ஆகும், P0 that is process P0 will be executing. see like this only switching between different process will be happening in our CPU system. so process P0 ல இருந்து process 1 க்கும் process 1 ல இருந்து எப்படி P0 க்கு switch ஆகுது, நம்ம இங்க ஒரு எக்ஸாம்பிள் வச்சு பார்த்தோம். that is by means of some interrupt or with the help of system call. this is how CPU switching happens in a computing environment. Okay, So in this session, we had seen all these topics. So we'll have a quick recap for all the topics which we have seen till now. So in this session, we have seen about the types of system programs and then about application programs and what are some of the examples of application programs. And then we saw about operating system design and implementation. There is what are the design goals. Defining goals and specification will be a difficult task. So here we have considered the choice of hardware and type of system going to use. Then we saw the requirements. There is a user goal and system goals. Next we saw about mechanism and policies. Next we have seen about operating system implementation, and normally we'll be preferring operating system to be written in higher level language. With this we have completed our first unit. Next second unit there is a process management. We saw what do you mean by process. So what do you mean by process? Process is a program in execution. Okay. So difference between a process and a program means program is a passive entity. It's residing in the memory. Process means is an active entity which is a process in execution. Okay. So we have seen different parts of the process. So how the different parts of the process will be allocated in memory. Then we saw an example, with a real-time example, how process will be there for different application using Windows Task Manager. And then we saw a process states having different states, and we saw the switching between different states. There is a process state diagram, and also we saw process control block. So each and every process will have its own process control block. To have the detail about that process, so what are the details will be available in that process control block we have seen. Next we saw how switching between process will happen in a CPU. So in this session we have seen all these topics. Okay, thank you.